Welcome to the Growth Minded Accountant podcast, where our experts will share best practices on running your firm in the digital age. This podcast is brought to you by CountingWorks Pro. Let's get started.
Welcome back to another episode of the Growth Minded Accountant, the podcast for professionals who want to serve better, operate smarter, and grow intentionally. Today's topic is your website is confusing. Here's the fix. I am Lee Reams, the founder and CEO of CountingWorks and our sister company, taxbuzz.com, and I'm with
Rebekah Barton. I am the Chief Visibility Officer for CountingWorks and TaxBuzz. This is something that feels really basic, but I promise you need to hear this. It's something that I deal with a lot with clients, so I'm excited to get into this today.
Yeah, and we've audited, obviously we have thousands of websites, so we see prospects, what they have already. We obviously know what's out there from our competitors. And most of them, quite honestly, are built like a resume or worse, even a maze. And they're just design elements that are all over the place. It's really hard. I always call it, can your website pass the stranger test? So if someone lands there and they don't know who you are, would they immediately know who you serve and how? And that's kind of the messaging that we want to get across today and help you fine tune your own website and even your marketing messaging and branding to make it work the best. So we're going to start off with a 4-part homepage formula. And Rebekah, I'm going to let you take it away.
For sure. So when you go to a website in 2025, there are 4 main sections that should be on your homepage: who you are, what you do, why people like you, and how to get in touch with you. Bear in mind that many people today are not looking at your website on a computer screen. They're looking on their phone. And so very clean, very simple, 4 big blocks. That's all you really need in this day and age. So we're going to talk, I think, a little bit, Lee, about all of these different segments and kind of what they should do. But those are the 4 things you need to bear in mind as we move forward.
Yeah, we're going to start with who you are. And I'm going to give an example of some copy that if you read it, it might sound fun, poetic maybe, but it is actually tell the audience member who's looking at your site for the first time exactly who you are and at least what you do. So I'm going to give an example, a headline like "Peace of Mind Through Numbers." So it's kind of clever, numbers, accounting, right? But what exactly do you do? And I'm just going to counter and say, if you're a little more direct with something like, "Hey, I do tax strategy for tech founders in Austin," basically serving people or helping clients since 1999. I've humanized my brand. I've said what I do. I do tax strategy, who I do it for, tech founders, where I do it in Austin. And hey, I'm working with humans. I'm the human in the loop to help you work better, right? So that's an example, like a quick one of a who we are. But I think, Rebekah, you have a lot more experience as the copywriting side on kind of how you develop this and how we get that message across very quickly.
Yeah, so you want it to be punchy. You definitely do want it to pack a little bit of a punch. If you can be creative, that's great. But like you just said, Lee, really being direct is what matters here. So another example would be simply saying helping clients since 1983. Helping them with what exactly? That could be something that anyone said, anyone who had been in business since 1983. Are you selling groceries? Are you a psychologist? Are you a tax planner? What are you? So very vague information is not good. Saying something to the effect of, like you mentioned, serving tech founders. So helping tech founders in Austin save money on taxes since 1983. Boom, boom, boom. You're telling them exactly what you do, exactly who you serve, and how long you've been in business, which is a great way to build trust. If you do have that background, if you've been around 30 or 40 years, try to get that into who you are. That's something that kind of immediately builds trust with people and adds authenticity to your brand. You don't want this to be your life story. You're not writing a novel. That's what your About Us page is for. You want this to be simple, sweet, and to the point.
Yeah, and like a takeaway for this is we say lead with your niche, your location, or your client base. So be specific. And this is important for 2 audiences here. Well, actually 3. So your prospects landing on your page, Google and traditional SEO and indexing, that helps them much more identify what you do and where you should be indexed. And now with AI search, you're doing the same thing. So the more you can show your expertise, your thought leadership, the more likely you are going to be referenced in the AI search results. I don't want to really call it search results. It's the AI tools and references. So they're basically looking for experts in specific verticals or subject areas that they can reference in their responses and have a link to your site. So it's kind of like the modern day search result page, right? All right, so we're going to move on to what you do. Rebekah, this is something that a lot of times it's kind of like a talking point is if you treat it like a restaurant menu, if it just says food services, and I do all of this, you're not really telling them exactly narrowing down. I help set up 529 plans or I help with QSBS stock, right? So you don't want to use real broad accounting services or tax services. When you talk about what you do, let's start narrowing in specifically to startups, established businesses. I work with high net worth individuals. I work with dual income people. And what this does is helps your prospects self-select. You're going to start getting more qualified leads, the people you're really looking for versus a bunch of shoppers. And you'll also be able to kind of weed out, the people that are price sensitive versus people that want premium services. Whether you're targeting either audience, you can use words in what you do area to help communicate that. So Rebekah, let's talk about this real quick and what your thoughts are on the what you do section.
Yeah. So one problem I see a lot is that people want to put 15 services in a drop-down menu. Not a good tactic. You want your nav to be as simple as possible. I usually try to get our clients, especially now that we do fully custom copy at Counting Works, I try to get people to narrow it down to maybe 4 to 5 services max. And then we can talk about other things within those, right? If you're doing virtual CFO services, for example, that can include things like payroll, like monthly bookkeeping, but you don't necessarily need a separate page for each of these services. As far as your homepage goes, since that's what we're really talking about today, it's smart to have a block that showcases 3 or 4 of your primary services. What are the 3 to 4 things that are drawing people in and that you consider your cornerstone services? Maybe it's bookkeeping, payroll, business advisory, and tax preparation. That could be your 4 cornerstones. Could be something like sales tax. If you offer sales tax services, that's a big one. We work with people who do that, and it's not super common. Some tax and accounting pros want to stay away from it. So if you offer a service like inventory or sales tax that is a little bit harder to find somebody to handle, you might want to highlight that. So just highlight your core services, have it in an easy to read block that people who are scrolling will easily see what drives you and what your core offerings are.
Yeah, I mean, if 50% of your audience is landing on your page on a mobile phone, as it needs to be scannable, scrollable, skimmable, whatever words you want to use. You need to make it really easy to catch their attention in a short period of time. So by going a little deeper in some of these services, instead of saying full service firm, where they're like, okay, what does that mean? I think you're going to be able to stop the people that you want to stop with the services that you're trying to offer.
The
so
more
the next part,
vague you are,
go ahead.
Sorry, Lee. No, I was just going to say the more vague you are, the less likely you are to land new clients.
Right,
That's
there's hundreds of thousands of generalists that are saying the same watered down thing. So it's common sense, and it's just been proven time after time that being a little more focused is going to convert a lot more clients. So what I was saying is this is my favorite part, why people like you. And there's a lot of different ways to kind of optimize this section. I think it's really important element, whether this means case studies, testimonials, reviews, third-party endorsements, clients, logos, things like that. You want to make sure people realize, hey, others trust me. And more importantly, if they're in a specific vertical like theirs, it's even going to compound that. But explain how, the best why people like you sections are built and why it's so effective.
This is a section where you can actually have a lot of fun. We've had a lot of clients lately who are doing things like putting video testimonials right on their website. Video is king on nearly every platform, from your website to your social media. Video is huge right now online. So if you can get a few people to come to your office, maybe you set up a little chair in the corner with a little plant next to it and a ring light, film some of your clients giving you a short little testimonial that looks really professional, really slick. You can film it on your phone, doesn't have to cost you a dime. Upload it to your website. That's a great way to showcase why people like you. If you don't want to go the video route, you can pull in your reviews. There are APIs that will put reviews from Google, Yelp, different places like that directly on your website. You can also ask specific clients who you know have really good things to say about you to provide you with quotes or even with longer testimonials or case studies. So one thing you can do, you don't really want to post a whole case study on your homepage, but you can have a great quote from it and then link directly to a PDF download of that case study, or another page on your website where you have some case studies showcased. So there's a lot of ways you can do social proof, but it is probably the most fun section of your homepage, and it gives you a chance to show your personality a little bit, tell people what your firm is really all about in a way that makes you very authentic and that starts to build trust before people even send you an email.
Yeah, I always say your clients and their reviews and their own words, their own point of view, does the selling for you. They're going to connect more with your audience. It's not going to feel manufactured. I think it's a big deal. One quote from a real person, with a face, hopefully, like that video, or a face, beats 1,000 about us buzzwords. The greatest copywriters in the world. If you get some really good testimonials and have a lot of fresh testimonials, reviews, make sure your review profiles are optimized. It's a game changer as far as it comes to conversion for web traffic. So whether that be a referral from another client or a web shopper, like someone just found you online through an AI search or Google, that's really big. I'm going to say the next one is probably the one that is most ignored and or not optimized. And we have found, and we've tested this all over the place on our own clients' websites and obviously our platform. It's interesting, little tweaks of words, the difference in the amount of click-throughs you do, and then how many people actually follow through. So that is how to get in touch. So that, whether that be calls to action on your website, or what is that next step? You're trying to walk someone through a process, kind of a funnel. What does that look like, Rebekah, and how do we optimize that?
So first of all, you don't want just one contact button on your homepage. You want to have a few of them at different places. So it's a great idea to have your phone number, make it clickable right in your header. People who are already ready to get in touch, they might not even want to scroll through your homepage. They just want to click a call button or click your email and send you an email immediately. Also can be smart to have some sort of a lead magnet or download or something midway through your homepage, maybe after your testimonials. You could say something like schedule a call, or if you wanted to use a lead magnet, download our free guide and have them enter their phone number or their email in order to access that download. And then at the bottom of the page, it's a really good idea to have a full-blown contact form where people can enter their email, their actual question in a message box, and then they can submit it to you in a more traditional way. So I advise having at least 2, sometimes 3 ways to get in touch with you right on the homepage, so people aren't bogged down in navigation. They're not having to figure out, where's the contact page? How do I get to this? That's going to lead to people bouncing off your website. So this structure is really critical for converting leads. Having a website isn't enough. Structuring it properly for today's internet is super important, and it's going to have an impact on how much your firm grows.
Yeah, an added tip to add to what Rebekah said is keep it human. Let's talk to a human,
Yes.
book a quick call, make it conversational if you can versus, submit a request for consideration. That can't be any more like off-putting, right? So definitely think about that when you're putting together your CTAs. And then the other thing is we said have more than one, but don't have 9, and don't have them all over the place where it's like, I don't even know where to click. They got all these different colors and I have CTAs everywhere. It just becomes overwhelming. Keep it simple. It really matters. So the next section we're going to go in here is common mistakes that kill trust. These are things that we see commonly, specifically with clients coming into our platform and things that we preach. As soon as you become a client of CountingWorks Pro, we're like, these are the elements you need to have, right? We add, custom narratives. We're writing custom about us as bios. We understand that. The one thing that is also game changing in every successful firm that we have is having headshots, team photos are so key. It shows your personality and it just makes you feel more approachable, more trustworthy. Without this, and we see it all the time, you'll have a firm with a kind of a generic name, a generic about us, no photos anywhere, or worse, generic kind of stock photos. And what does it say to me? It's there's no human behind this, right? And that feels untrustworthy. So, stock photos of strangers in suits, clients can't tell who these are. You can tell if it's outdated or inexpensive. Another thing that I see that just kills me, I call them dinosaur sites, but it's the DIYer that put together their own website because they were saving money or they like some WordPress, template that they saw and I have to have it, or, their cousin said, I'll build it for you. And they built that site in 2019. They added one blog article and they haven't updated the site since then. Actually, let's talk about that. How does that freshness and content creation side absolutely destroy you when it comes to both the AI search and, more importantly, Google search, and then even just the client experience? It's like, wait a second, they don't even have time to update their blog. What does that mean if I'm a client?
Right. I'm really glad you asked this because there's a couple points I wanted to make about this. I get a lot of people who think that having old blog posts on their website is bad. It is not bad if you are still posting fresh content. In fact, it's the opposite. It's great. It tells Google, it tells AI, hey, this person's been around for a while. They have expertise. They're a long-time thought leader within whatever your niche is, and certainly within the tax and accounting industry. So do not go back and delete your old blog posts. You want that authority. You want them to stay there. But if all of your blog posts are old blog posts, that's a huge problem. Fresh content is critical. You need to be updating. Your latest post should ideally be within the last week at any given time. You don't want posts that are months or years old. That's not going to serve you. Clients are going to think that you've abandoned your website. AI search is certainly not going to find you because they're looking for current thought leaders within your niche. And Google is going to be like, wait a minute, have they just disappeared? Are they even still in business? So you need to be posting fresh content. So this is not to say old content can't serve you, because you could have evergreen content that does very well, but the fresher your content is, the more likely you are to show up in geolocated search results, the more likely you are for ChatGPT and other AI search engines to find you, and certainly the more likely you are to get more clients because they're going to see that you still care. You're still updating, you're still a thought leader, you're still posting things that are valuable and relevant to them.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If let's say there was a referral and this referral gets a couple of referrals from a couple of different people and they go to your website versus the other referral website. On your website, your last blog post was from 2019. It's dated, you're using stock photos. The other CPA, for example, they're following the big, beautiful bill. They're giving updates on where the Senate is. They talked about Trump saying, hey, you guys aren't going on vacation before July 4th. You're going to get this deal done. This is what the House bill looks like. This is what the Senate bill looks like. Hey, if you're an educator, maybe you should start tracking your expenses. All these different tips on how it will affect them. It's game over. Who are you going to choose? Most likely that other CPA, right? We talked about this as well, is the mobile optimization. 50% of our clients' traffic is coming from mobile. So if it's just a truncated version of your website, that we've seen some competitors do that, does it still flow? Does it still follow a process to bring clients through your story, communicate with them, and help convert them? The last thing is, we talked about CTAs, but a lot of sites we see have no clear next step. Like, okay, I found you, I'm interested, but I don't even know how to contact you, right? We see that often, and I think that's kind of a big deal. I'll add, there's a big argument, specifically today with value, AI changing the game with hourly, billing, when you could do things in our clients are able to do tax plans in 5 minutes. You may have billed the client 2 hours to work on that before. So are you billing hourly and here's your 5-minute bill, are you now doing, here's all my human in the loop, this is the value I'm providing, I'm doing value pricing. So, whether or not you show your pricing or at least some pricing, it does a couple of things. One, it helps people kind of start self-selecting. So the conversation on pricing is much easier. It's transparent. And it also positions you. Am I a high end? So maybe those low end people, they see your pricing or, oh, wait, this is too much for me. Or someone looking for a premium service, those are the kind of people you're trying to attract. By showing premium services and being transparent, you're going to convert a lot more. I had one more takeaway, Rebekah, and I want to talk about this. And it's what we call above the fold. It used to be above the fold on newsprint, but we use it in websites as well. We like to keep at least one or two legacy items or terms, continue to give them life, long life. But what does that mean, and how do you optimize that?
So, like you said, Lee, above the fold typically means anything above the bottom of your screen, right? Just like an old newspaper, above the fold was whatever was seen as like the top headline of the day on the front page that you would see in like the newspaper stands. So what you want to have in this section of your website is to answer basically three questions. Am I in the right place for me? Can this tax and accounting firm help me? And what are my next steps? So like we mentioned, having one of your CTAs right at the top of the page in your header, that answers that. Here's what I do next. I give them a call. I send them an email. Am I in the right place? That's going to be basically your elevator pitch, that who we are that we already talked about earlier. You want that right at the top of the page. We call it the hero section typically. That's where you're going to tell people, this is who I am. I'm a seasoned tax professional who helps tech startups in Austin, Texas save thousands of dollars a year. Boom. Done. You're telling people exactly who you are. You're pitching them on yourself in a short single sentence. And then, can this firm help me? Also kind of answered right there. But this is where you might list just a couple of your core services. Let people know that, I offer virtual CFO. I offer payroll solutions, whatever it may be that you're really focused on. So you want to make sure that core data about your firm, basically the DNA of what makes your firm, that's what needs to be above the fold.
Yeah, I mean, think of it as a dating profile, right? You have seconds to hook them or they just swipe away. I have no experience on this, but I'm giving a good analogy. I'm just saying, okay, or I'll give a different one. How about think about standing 5 feet away from your screen if you have a big screen in your office. And I'm going to ask you, can you tell what that firm or your firm does? And if you can't, your client can't either, right? And it's kind of a simple way to think about it. So get straight to that messaging. We've done a lot of work with that and trial and error on our side and said, here's a hero comment. This is our main brand or our takeaway that we want people to remember us by. It's like a political campaign. You just keep saying it over and over again, and then it starts resonating. So let's just recap this real quick. 4-part homepage structure again. Who you are. Clear headline about who you serve, what you do. Simple. Skimmable list of services, right? Why people like you. Now this is building, that's that social proof, that's testimonials, reviews, and then how to get in touch. So where are these CTAs? What are those next calls to action that bring them through your funnel to talk to you? So you got to remember your website is your first impression. So it's one that we want to make sure it's not your last, right? So this is just a quick one this week. We've had a lot of experiences with clients that kind of come in like all over the place, cluttered, and we thought this would be a good way to just kind of say, hey, this is the way you should do it. There is a process, and there's a way we do it with our clients, creating these narratives and bringing people through a story that really connects. If you are interested in doing an audit checklist or even a narrative checklist through our firm, you can go to CountingWorks Pro's website. We have a Let's Talk button on the top right. You click on that, and there's a way to actually schedule a free kind of narrative call that will go through the process that we just went through and even develop some ideas for you. And Rebekah's team has been doing these for clients. It's been really successful. So we're definitely looking forward to talking to you about it. Rebekah, is there anything that I missed here that you want to add, or is this a pretty good synopsis of the 4 parts?
I think we're good. I think we hit on everything. Yeah, we'd love to talk to you if you have questions, or if, your current website looks like it was built with Microsoft Paint in 1995. We are here to help.
Thanks for listening. Remember, growth starts with clarity. We hope to see you next week. Thank you.